Hey everybody, welcome to Jacob's Quest, and today we got a brand new trailer for The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. The whole title is actually The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. It's not just The Rings of Power. I thought it was just The Rings of Power, but it's not. Anyways, so we got a brand new trailer, and I think we had a little teaser a while ago. I know they made like a big deal out of their logo, which it did look really cool. And yeah, this show is the new Amazon Prime show. I don't know exactly when this comes out. I imagine this will tell us. And by the way, this show, which I think if you look it up online, you can already easily see this. This show is definitely going to be the next target in the weird political culture war type stuff here on YouTube, which I absolutely despise, by the way. So, you know, just be prepared for that. While we're watching this trailer, you know, certain groups out there are already militarizing themselves, going like, oh, this is all just woke SJW stuff, you know. So, you know, those types of people are going to be out there. Anyways, we're going to try to ignore all that. The Rings of Power, I know that this is set during the Second Age, so, you know, I think an age is 1,000 years maybe, or 1,000,000 years, I don't know. Anyways, the point is, I know Lord of the Rings takes place at the end of the Third Age, I believe. And this is the Second Age. This is like right before the giant battle that we see in the prelude during Fellowship of the Rings. They talk about how, you know, the ring was made and it was given to everyone, and then the big battle happens and they end up not destroying the ring because the Isildur is like, no, it's mine, you know. So anyways, this is like right before that battle happens. And I imagine that the end of this show will be that battle, right? I believe that's generally the idea, is that that battle happens at the end of the show. So this is all like leading up to that, which is pretty interesting. I love that idea for a show. And let's go ahead and press play. Let's check it out.
There was a time when the world was so young.
Wow, it already looks amazing.
There had not yet been a sunrise. But even then, there was light.
Wow. I mean, it looks great. Wow, that's very impressive.
Elves have forests to protect. Dwarfs their mines. Men their fields of grain. But we Harfoots have each other.
For I must now wander this wandering day.
We're safe.
Okay, and this is like the not quite yet hobbits.
You have fought long enough, Galadriel.
Oh, Galadriel. Okay, cool.
Put up your sword.
The enemy is still out there. The question now is where?
It is over.
You have not seen what I've seen.
I have seen my share.
You have not seen
Okay, so she's having like crazy visions and
what I have seen.
this September. Okay, wow. Coming pretty soon. Man, just look at this show though. Like, Jesus.
Darkness will march over the face of the earth. It will be the end, not just of our people, but all peoples.
I am sorry, but their time has come.
The past is with us all.
The past is dead. We either move forward
Wow.
or we die with it.
How much did they spend on this show again? Like, it's all like I just.
Of a new era.
Oh my gosh.
Away I must wander this wandering day.
Wow. Rings of Power. Okay. I think that's the end of it. Yeah. Okay, wow. Wow. Okay. I was very, very impressed, like, visually. Like, we've seen images. We've seen like stills and images of like, oh, here's like a little sneak preview. Wow, like literally every shot in this looked amazing. It also looked insanely expensive. I I don't remember the exact number, but I want to say this might be the most expensive show ever. I remember seeing the headlines of like, oh, they spent $10 billion or something on this. So like Amazon is banking on this show being a success. They literally are banking on it because they spent so much money on this. I mean, it shows. That's the good thing, is that like the money is on screen. So like, yeah, I can tell they spent a lot on this. I don't know how much of this is on location, how much of this is just, you know, CGI rendering at this point. I can't tell. I'm sure someone out there can like kind of guesstimate how much is what, but like, wow, it's, jeez. That's really impressive. I love the way this looks. So yeah, the thing is, it definitely looks like Lord of the Rings. It feels like Lord of the Rings. They got the right music playing, they got the dialogue down. You know, this is gonna be a little bit of a different experience because a lot of this is gonna be sort of just borrowing some material from the Silmarillion and stuff like that, but like, they don't have an actual fully structured story in book form to draw from, you know. So unlike The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, where it's literally a book that gives you like full scenes and dialogue, and you know, like it gives you details to like just put this on the screen, you know, you're adapting a book. This is more complicated, where it's like we have this basic story, but there's not like full scenes, and sometimes there's not even like characters, you know. They just know like, well, an army of men from this city went over here and did this, but it's like, okay, but they didn't give us names, and they didn't give us like specific like who did it, how many of them were, you know, like. So in that kind of sense, they are having to like make a lot of this up, you know. So like that's like an extra challenge on top of everything else. That's an extra challenge of like, they don't have a one-to-one adaptation to take from now, you know. Like they have the basic bare bones story of what happened during this age, but there's not a full trilogy of books about it, you know what I mean. They essentially are going from a history text with the Silmarillion, right, and a bunch of poems and a bunch of songs that they can draw from, and that's all they got. So really, I mean, I'm impressed with what they got, like the props and the costumes and the music and the settings. Like it all just looks fantastic. I am so impressed with this. Yeah, and we're seeing the beginnings of, we see like the people who will eventually become hobbits, you know. I forget what they're calling themselves. They're calling themselves something else. They're not in the Shire. I think they're in the woods, you know, which makes sense, right? Like I said, this is like 1,000 years or 1,000,000 years or something like that. Like it's a long ways away from what we know, so we're gonna see like familiar elements, but clearly not exactly the same thing. Like during this time, I believe like dragons should still be plentiful, I think, right? So like by the time of the Hobbit, Smaug was like the last dragon, but at this point there's like yeah there's dragons everywhere, you know. So that, like, they have a lot of stuff they can play with, where it's like, you know, a lot of it's gonna feel familiar, but it's gonna be very different, you know. And they also have a lot of freedom, like I said, because a lot of these characters are going to be entirely made up characters. A lot of these, you know, the dialogue scenes, they're pretty much 100% made up, you know. They're not drawing it from a book, so I'm very curious how this goes, you know. I'm down. This trailer got me excited. I'm going to tell you right now, like I am down to watch this. So I hope it delivers. It would be insane if it somehow didn't. With the amount of money and the amount of stuff that they got right based on this trailer alone, it would be insane if somehow it ended up not being a compelling story. You know, it feels like that would be the easiest thing out of everything they've accomplished so far, of all the costumes and the props and the settings and the music and the dialogue that we heard. Like, it all feels right. It would be insane if somehow it didn't deliver past that, you know. So yeah, I'm really, really excited. That was like, I didn't really give this show much thought, you know, because like this is the same thing when they say, oh, we have 3 different spin-offs of Game of Thrones coming out, you know. I'm like, yeah, I know they got the House of the Dragon coming out. I'm like, I don't know, is it ever gonna live up to Game of Thrones at its prime? I don't know, you know. And it's like a very similar thing with this. It's like, is this actually gonna live up to the Lord of the Rings trilogy? I don't know. That's a pretty tall order, you know. Like, and so I don't like put a lot of stock into it, but I'm not gonna lie, this trailer got me really excited. You know, there are some other things, like I believe, you know, this is not, they don't have the rights to the films, to like the Lord of the Rings films, so there's going to be some things like the Rings of Power are not going to look exactly the same because they don't have the rights to use those props or something. Like, I remember reading something like that. So there are some interesting little things where it's like, this is not technically speaking one-to-one canon with the movies either, only in the sense that they were produced by different companies, you know. So there's going to be maybe some iffy things like that. Like this is technically speaking its own thing. It's not, you know, canon to the movies or The Hobbit or anything like that, but for all intents and purposes, you could just watch this and then watch the Hobbit trilogy and then the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's that kind of thing where it's like, it does, like, on paper legally it's not, they're not connected in any way, you know. They're entirely different properties owned by different studios and, you know, whatever. But I mean, look at it, you know what I mean? Like, it's based off the same source material, so it's, you could just put it there, you know. So that, I can't imagine that would cause too many problems because obviously they're separated by thousands of years of history. But there are going to be some little things like the Rings of Power in this show will not look the same as the Rings of Power that we saw in the Fellowship of the Ring. You know, some of those characters where they're like, oh, 9 were given to the kings of men, like those kings probably won't look exactly the same as those actors did. I mean, those were just like, you know, those actors were there for like one scene, so that's fine anyways. But you know, it is like a little thing where it's like the costumes might not look exactly the same, and maybe this castle won't look exactly the same because that was the Peter Jackson whatever, I forget what company it's not New Line. Who was it? I don't remember. Anyways, my point is, there's gonna be a little bit of weird stuff like that in this show where it's like, you know, we know that this is Rivendell, or not Rivendell. What was it? Is it Rivendell? Who? I'm already forgetting my Lord of the Rings stuff. Anyways, look, guys, I'm not gonna pretend like I'm like crazy into the lore of Lord of the Rings. Like, I watched the movies a bunch, and that's where like all my information's coming from. And I've watched a handful of YouTube videos explaining some of the deeper lore bits that I had questions about. But yeah, I'm definitely not someone who's sat down and read the Silmarillion or all the you know, all the little anecdotes in the back of the books, you know. So I don't know as much as a lot of other people out there, but I will say this got me really excited. This definitely sold me on the show, and yeah, I'm ready to watch this. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know how you feel about this not technically being part of the Peter Jackson canon and all that. And are you like a crazy fanboy of Lord of the Rings? Like, do you know every single bit of lore? Or are you more of a casual like me, where it's like, yeah, I love the movies, I've seen the movies a whole bunch, but I haven't actually read the books yet, you know? Yeah, let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys next time.